What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you stopping by, spending a few minutes of your time here with me today. Today, I want to go over with you the 3 trades that I took today, which is Wednesday. All right. I traded the US dollar versus the Canadian dollar currency pair. And then I took 2 trades on the DJ30. I took 1 loss and 1 win. So I wanted to go over this with you, especially the loss, because it was just a stupid loss, easily avoidable. All right. And I wanted to go over it with you to sort of highlight that mistake that I made and how to avoid it in the future. Right. But to start off, let's look at the US dollar, Canadian dollar currency pair. All right, so you can see here we've got Tuesday, Wednesday. On Tuesday, we have this outside day, right? We have a day that breaks both the low and the high of the previous day, which is illustrated by these red horizontal lines, all right? So you can see we have a peak formation low, then a peak formation high, and then we coil, okay? Peak formation low, peak formation high, then a coil. Now, all I did was mark off this coil, all right? We had this smaller high and low range, right? We have this large high and low range. Then we have this small high and low range. And price stays inside of that high and low range until we enter the London session, all right? So I've simply marked off that range. And all we have to do once we've identified this sort of coil is wait for one of 2 things to happen. We're either going to break and retest, which means we will break out of the high, retest the high, and then continue going higher. Or in this case, where we break the low, retest the low, and continue going lower. The only other thing that may happen is that we might have a false break of either the high or the low and then reverse the opposite way. So we could have come up, broke that high, right? And then instead of retesting the high and continuing higher, we would have broke the high, traded back inside of that range, coiled maybe again, and then dumped down through the other side, retested and continued lower, right? But so here, because it's so late for me during the London session does not start for me, my local time, until about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I needed to get some sleep, right? So I just got in as soon as we broke that low, and I was planning on holding it until the morning, all right? And, I'm taking my son to his program in the morning, so I didn't make it back to the screen until around 10 o'clock, which is when I took my exit here. So I secured a very nice, I believe it was like a 1-to-3 or 1-to-4 risk to reward ratio here, okay? So very nice trade. I started off the day with this very nice profit buffer. Now, I took this trade with not small size, not heavy size, but with moderate size because I knew that I was planning on holding it for a while, all right? So for me, I don't want to have a bunch of money just floating around, okay? But I still want to be able to take advantage of the move, right? That's why I'm saying I got in moderate size. I'm going to be leaving it and letting it do its thing. I'm not going to be messing with it. I'm not even going to be looking at the charts while I'm asleep, right? So it's moderate size that I took this trade with. Started off the day with a very nice profit buffer heading into the session, okay? Now, for the good trade. Okay, that was a good trade, all right? This is a good trade, but this trade over here, this was an absolute beauty, all right? So let's check it out. Now, when I first came to the charts and I was looking at this retest of yesterday's low, which is that red line, right? We came down, we got pretty close to that low, but we didn't take it out. And then we reversed and started putting in higher highs. So that immediately I started thinking, okay, I'm long biased. It looks like we already retested that low. We have all these highs up here. There's money sitting above those highs, so maybe I can target that area if things look right. So I was originally long biased on this trade, okay? Then as time moved on, this market started to coil sideways. It gave me a coil, all right? And I just went over this with you in the previous video. When we get those coils, all we're doing is marking off the high, marking off the low of that coil, and waiting for a break and retest, okay? So now you can see as we're into the session, we have this sideways coil. I was long biased here, and I got in this trade long with a small starter position. All right. We didn't break the high and retest it yet. Okay. But I still wanted to get in, and I'll show you why, right? Because we came down here, we broke out of that low and then engulfed to the upside. To me, I was like, okay, bam, we got the false break of the low, and now we're going to go higher. So I went ahead and I got into that trade. Okay. But that was my mistake. I should have waited for it to break out of the high, retest the high, and then catch my entry. Okay. So I made a little mistake. That was my blunder for the day. I even put it in the chat in the Discord, right? That I was looking to see this market break out and retest before I entered, but I didn't stick to that rule and I paid for it. All right. But luckily, I got in with just a starter position because we had not given that break and retest. Okay. If we would have got that break and retest, I would have entered with more size. Or if this market would have continued up, broke out of that high, retested, I would have added to my position. Okay. I would have averaged in to this trade as it moved in my direction. But that's not what happened. I ended up getting stopped out pretty quick. And as a result, I changed my bias. I was able to see exactly what I needed to see for the short trade. All right. So you can see after that happened, this low that I thought was the false break of the low ended up being sort of the initial breakout. Right. Then we pumped back up into that range, retesting the highs of the coil and then dumping again. There's our actual breakout right here. Boom. There's our breakout of the low. We come up, we retest that low, and I officially entered my short trade here. Okay. So for that long position, when I got in, I took that with a 0.05 lot size trade. Okay. That was my starter position size. When I took this short trade, I took it with a point 0.2. All right. So I went in a lot heavier than I did originally with that long trade. So I was able to recap those losses and then some. Okay. I took this for 150 pips. And you can see this trade actually played out very nicely. We had this peak formation low that was put in, and then we started to pump. So that started to act as my target. Okay. Now I did not hold it all the way until we took out that low. I could have, right? But I exited here because we're trading back into the target area. All right. And so sometimes I will pull that trade when we're trading back into that target area. Right. I'm already up 150 pips. There's no reason for me to be greedy and just sit there because you never know. The market could just flip and continue going higher. Right. So I just decided to take the money and run. All right. Very nice trade. Okay. We're trading $2 a pip at point 0.2 of a lot size. Right. So 250 pips, $500. Very nice and easy, slick trade here on the 1 minute chart. I sat there, I monitored it in real time, and I told myself, as long as we're moving with heavy momentum, I'm going to stay in this trade. All right. At least until we get into that exit area, that target area. So once we started chopping sideways right there, we're already trading back into these levels. We start chopping sideways. I'm taking it. All right. I already took this small loss up here. I don't want to give anything back. Right. So I just took that trade and I walked away. Okay. I took the money and I walked away. Very nice opportunity there on the DJ30. Okay. And I know that there were some other people who didn't take this trade, but they took a very similar trade on gold. Okay, that was a very nice chart, and congratulations to those of you who took that gold trade. Very nice opportunities here on Wednesday, day 3. Okay, so I appreciate y'all for being here. Until next time, I hope you continue to free your mind.